Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, Facebook. I know it is a strange day and time for us, but we are here at 11 o'clock on, I believe it's Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday. We're at that phase of life, guys, where it's so close to the holidays. They're all really just the same day as we run to the end of the month of December. So good morning, everybody. Good morning, Carol. Good morning, Alexandria. Good morning, Savannah. Good morning, Terry. You guys are popping in. I love it. All right, we have a very special interview today. We are going to be having a fun conversation with Heidi and Matthew Pridemore. So these very, very talented individuals who happen to live under the same roof and can still coexist designed a special pattern for us. So it was about, I think, 9 months ago, our sales rep from Island Batik came by and brought us some beautiful holiday batik fabrics, and I saw them and I immediately fell in love with them. And I saw these patterns and I saw this quilt, this very modern Christmas tree quilt. And I was like, I want to do something with this for our holiday project. And so Paula worked her magic. She reached out to Heidi, and this amazing pillow pattern was born, which is a smaller version of the modern quilt using this color palette, guys. It sings to me so much. I love everything about this. And so Heidi and Matthew worked to put together a special pattern just for us. These we have been flying out the doors. We're going to continue shipping them through the end of this week and into next. But this is the pattern, and Paula, in her infinite wisdom, is like running to grab the fabric because we still have bolts of these guys hanging around. So here they are. So with that, we're going to actually have a conversation with these lovely, fantastic people. Paula now needs to get back to her desk. Oh, she's given me stuff to like and to share. And so because we're doing this in the middle of the day, it's kind of a pop-up session for us. We are going to be giving away one of these pillow kits if you stay to the end of the show. So if you're watching this in replay, definitely hang with us because we are going to be giving away one of these kits to a lucky person. Good morning, Tishua. Lovely to see you. Good morning, Jana. Lovely to see you as well. All right, Paula, are we ready to click the magic button? All right. Good morning, Heidi and Matthew. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. It's lovely to see you.
Glad to be here.
So you guys are in Arizona, right? So that's so is this the time of year where you're 2 hours away from Central Time Zone or 1 hour? 1 hour. Yeah. Okay. So I grew up in Arizona. I grew up in Prescott. And when I saw you guys were from Arizona, I was like, this is fantastic. What a small world. Okay, so let's get started. So tell us about the Whimsical Workshop. Tell us kind of your elevator pitch, how you got on this bus. I know I read the website, guys. It's like the story is like this long, but give us the awesome stuff. Give us the cool stuff that makes Whimsical Workshop special.
Okay, well, I started it as my small side job 25 plus years ago. And I was just designing patterns for fabric companies. When they get their collections in, we would do all the marketing and design the quilts for them. And I just kept growing and growing and growing. And Matthew's an architect by trade and my husband. And about 15 years ago now,
14, 15,
he came on board full time. And he started helping me with like graphics and digitals and things like that. But over the time, he's taken his own design skills and he designs the majority of the quilts coming out of our studio right now while I travel and teach and run workshops. And so it's worked out. We still design for a lot of the fabric companies doing their patterns. And then I design fabric for Island Batiks. And he has designed for Benartex and QT Fabrics. So kind of have our fingers in a lot of pots.
That is, it's an amazing story, right? It's a story that it starts so long ago. And to hear you say that, you're just like, yeah, it's just kind of something we do.
It's not a full-time job. That's what I tell people. They're like, oh, you must have fun. I'm like, I do. And I'm sure he does. But it's our full-time job to create stuff to make everybody happy. So you can't go wrong with that kind of a job.
That's fantastic. And it's so inspiring whenever you hear the story of okay, I started a business and then my husband gets to join me in the business full time and walk away from his career. And this is what we do all day in our retirement. This is a fantastic story.
Well, and I always say it's like whether I'm designing a building or I'm designing a quilt, it's the design. I enjoy the design process. So a lot of it is similar. It's different materials, different budgets, different time frames, but it is still the design process, which I enjoy. So it all works out.
So two things. So I'm an engineer. I get it. I've always called it textile engineering, not quilting, right? You are deconstructing and reconstructing in geometric fashion with precision measurements, which is very, I mean, it's not to the, hundreds of thousands that I used to design medical devices.
We had to work on that a little bit because
I'm used to dimensions where I can get sued or something can fall down and people can get hurt, where now a quilt is it's a little fudgy here and there, but that took us working through it. It's like, how could that not be as accurate? We do it digitally. It can be accurate.
Well, my background's in product design, so mine wasn't nearly as precise or technical as his background. So I have a little more, I'm more the free flowing and he's more the tech guy.
Yes, I from the engineering perspective, I was a medical device, right? And that's all design control. Everything is very rigid. Now, how did you guys get through the conversation of it's a quarter of an inch versus 0.25, like 250, like 25 tenths? Like, because I was in a manufacturing site and I was like, it's a quarter of an inch. They're like, no. And I was like, I used to talk that way.
So,
I think it was more me that had to kind of adjust and understand that fabric is stretchy and it's not gonna be the end of the world. We can be precise and we can help people get there. But we used to make fun of people in the architectural world when they would have a dimension of like, 256, which in the computer you can do, which is a useless number. And it would be, well, we don't have to do that. We could be more accurate. And again, it's when things have to work together in the bigger picture, accuracy is important.
And we have to make the quilt rollers work.
Right. And accuracy is important in quilting and other crafting. So it was more me understanding that the accuracy is there. It just made me not to that many decimal points.
Right, because we can't find that on our rulers.
No. Did you have to hang the calipers up, like put them away?
Yeah. Well, I caught the end of some of that still hand drafting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That was still like when I came out of grad school, it was transitioning completely to digital, but there were still some tasks that we did by hand, which nowadays people would just kind of laugh at. But
we're showing our age.
Yeah, we're showing our age. So.
I mean, I didn't have a slide rule, but I definitely did a lot of things by hand when I was drawing in school as well. Yes. Yeah. All right. So Heidi, tell us about your very first quilt that you designed.
It's actually kind of funny. It was for fabric quilts, and they said I had a month to design a quilt using one of their lines. And at the time, I worked part-time in a quilt shop, and I spent a couple of weeks designing this super cool, amazing block. Went into the shop to show all the ladies. I'm like, look what I designed. And they're like, oh, that's Storm at Sea. So after that, I bought, there's a encyclopedia of blocks. I think it's Barbara Brockman. Mm-hmm. I bought her book, like literally the next week. And I made sure when I thought I was designing something unique, double check that. Not that, I mean, there are so many traditional blocks we can use over and over, and it's how you set it. But that was my very first quilt design, and I learned a lot from it. So, and it went on to be a nice quilt, but I knew then that I had spent a lot of time designing something I didn't necessarily need to redesign. So,
I mean, it's good, right? Because I mean, Storm at Sea is such a popular design, right? Oh, so you're online, like you're designing things people will want and people will want to make. You just got to make it your own spin. Yeah.
And this was 99. It was 1999. The internet was not what it is now. I mean, you could not, I had to go buy a book. It wasn't like I could go online and say, give me a bunch of quilt block designs. And so we've been part of that transition from the analog to free patterns, had to be 8.5 by 11, and it's quilt on the front, and instructions all had to fit on the back, to digital downloads. It's been quite a roller coaster just to see what technology has done for our industry.
Well, so let's stay on that for a second. So what do you think is going to continue to happen, right? So you talked about the past like 25-ish years. Fast forward the clock, 15, 20 years. What does it look like?
Well, right now it's much more video driven, and our industry needs to do a lot to catch up with the rest of the world for video. Patterns, people still like to have a printed pattern, but it is becoming more and more, is there video support on the back? Do you have a tutorial for me? Because as technology continues, our attention spans are getting shorter. So even how we design or market and everything has to be quick, because people don't have time to wait to learn something. You have to be quick in how you teach them. So.
And there are fewer quilt shops around.
Much
so
fewer.
The quilt shop used to be a source of education. Like even when Heidi brought her, 2-week design project in, and they said that's this.
Yeah.
They were a source of information, and we're losing some of those.
Yeah.
So now online, the fact that you can go get help from somebody, and sometimes it's even personalized. You can do a live stream, or you can connect with them live,
right?
And they can still get the help. But now they don't necessarily have to be in your hometown.
Yeah.
The skill can be several states away or a country away.
Mm-hmm.
But you have access to now, which to me is still, it's a positive. I mean, I hate to lose the local shops, but the fact that we can still have people picking up quilting and being able to be supported by it is still positive.
Yeah, very good. So what do you guys think? I'm going to ask what do you guys think AI is going to do in the quilting space? Do you have an opinion?
Not to get political or anything, but I love AI. I use it all the time. It has helped me have a virtual assistant. I can write up a blog post and I can run it through AI to make sure I didn't miss anything or just need something. So for me, I think that's really cool. Now, designing with AI is more.
Yeah, I've experimented with it. We're completely in using like the Adobe suite, so it's Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign. And now Adobe, like several of the other obviously big tech companies, have AI built into the suite. I've looked at it. I obviously have some ethical questions about, since the AI is just scrubbing all the websites, all the art sites, and kind of looking for these examples, you have to. I just always go on the assumption that what I'm looking at is based on known things. It is not unique.
Correct.
But I will run ideas through the Adobe AI engine just to see kind of what it spits out, and it may give me an idea that I can pursue. I've never just taken it one for one and just say, oh, I can drop my fabric in now. But I definitely do look at it just to see, how it's approaching it. But more often than not, it's still me just coming up with an idea. But yeah, to be honest, I do look at it. It's not on every job.
But AI doesn't know how to quilt yet. So some of their ideas are pretty way out there. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, no one's going to piece that. We're not doing that.
Yeah, I would love to know, if almost across the board, any image that it'll give you is probably sewable, but you have to be an experienced quilter.
Right. I would say there's the coming up with the actual finished design piece, but then the actually knowing how to sew it together, like there's still a big gap before it's able to, and that's really the copyrighted part of the pattern is the instructions on how to assemble it. And AI is just not capable of really doing that yet because, and I just did a pattern design last night. Like it's how do you press your seam allowances so they nest? There's a sequence, there's an order, there's a logic that I think would be hard to come up with in an AI fashion where they're just processing zeros and ones so quickly.
Yeah. They're pretty, but they're not.
There are some amazing images.
Yes.
So, and he doesn't sew or quilt. He designs and he writes some instructions. He reviews all our instructions. So when we do anything, like he'll call me down and say, okay, what do you think? So it is a collaboration in that regard. It's mostly his ideas.
Though I've yet to come up with an idea that she couldn't do.
Yes, but there's some that I'm like, we shouldn't do.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right. Yeah. But sorry.
That's okay.
We have a Great Pyrenees here. The way we do our instructions, though, is he reads them, and if they don't make sense to him, not being a sewer, there's a chance they won't make sense to a sewer. So we have several people reviewing things and going through them to make sure that anybody can pick up those instructions. They don't have to use a sewing machine. They should be able to understand what they're doing.
Yes.
So
yes.
that's a big part of what we do.
And a lot of what we do is tempered by the fact that 99% of the time we have to write instructions for it.
Yes, I
You
don't
know,
design stuff, a lot of big fancy stuff,
Yeah,
and I know I got to tell someone how to do it.
we could design and make beautiful art quilts if we had the time, knowing that we wouldn't have to write instructions for it.
Right.
But
Right.
a lot of what we do is
Yeah.
we know that there's an end user that we need to be able to get this, you know,
Explain it to them.
the pillow is a great example. You know, it looks very complex, but in the end, it's built in columns. You know,
Right.
it's built in strips, so you get some kind of bang for your buck when you start turning things on point. But
Right.
we know that, you know, chances are we're going to have to explain that to a beginner quilter, and
Which
you know, they'll at least be able to follow along. They may have to wait a little while till they have a fuller skill set, but they can at least follow along. So.
And that is an understated skill. When you pick up a pattern, you can tell if it's being written for you to be able to make it, or if someone's showing off that they could make this design. And I definitely want something that I am inspired by, but that I can then also make. And I love that about your patterns, that there's an approachability to it, that you can actually make these patterns. And it's not something that, oh my gosh, I'm going to know how to do Y seams, and I'm going to have to do this skill that I will only use once and never again, or buy an expensive ruler that I'm going to have a tutorial on how to use this ruler. All right, so we have a question. Gianna would love to know where you guys get your inspiration from.
I get a lot of it from the fabric itself, mainly because of how the business got started with the fabric company sending me collections, and our job was to take that collection and make it look the best it could so it would sell to quilt shops and in turn sell to the customer. So a lot of the times my inspiration is coming from that. I do get some just from everyday things like hotel carpets and
You'd be amazed at how many just look down, how many floor tile patterns, how many there is inspiration around you all the time. It just sometimes you just have to take a second to find it. But we both come up, you know, we've both been inspired by tiles, by windows, by
wrought iron fences,
doorways. I mean, it is around us all the time. So just take a few extra seconds, and you'll be amazed at, you know, what you find out there. I've always wanted to do almost like a lecture or a workshop where we would literally generate these ideas from the space we were in. So you could look at what the carpet was. You may look at somebody's backpack or purse and be able to pull something from that and be able to actually generate something live, and people could see that how much inspiration is in the world around them all the time. Just take the time to find it.
I think that's a workshop. That's a class. That's a quilting class.
That one's been percolating in the background for a little while to see if we could do it. I think it would be stronger. Some would be stronger than others, but the inspiration is always there. And then again, it's how you combine it. You can break it down to simple squares and rectangles, and, you know, how are you going to put them together, and the colors. There's a bunch of other decisions that can be made that can influence the final design.
Right.
Exactly. Okay, so Heidi, you said you get your inspiration from the fabric. So one of the things we always encourage our cotton cuts folks to get outside their comfort zone and to pick up that fabric that they have that they don't know how to do with, or that they're not really comfortable using. So have you had a fabric that has not been as inspiring to you, but yet you felt compelled to upgrade it, to give it a facelift? Talk to us about that process for you and how you work with fabric that's outside your comfort zone.
Well, and that because we were given the fabric to design with, I'm outside my comfort zone a lot, because I love brights. I love really fun colors and fabrics and prints. And then someone will send me like an Asian line, or, you know, a Western line, or they'll send me an Asian Western line and say, make something cool out of this. So I do get a lot of sketchy kind of fabrics that I wouldn't really work with. And so what I do is, if I can't get past the line art, the design, the pictures, then I just start working with the colors. I'm like, okay, what about these colors? Can we cut it smaller and get rid of the motif that's bothering me? Or do we like really lean into the motif, but it's only about the color? So all the other fabrics kind of are just matching the color, not the design. And it's flip-flop. If it comes in and I love the motif, but I'm not crazy about the color, then what I do is I start looking at complementary colors, looking at color families that it could work in that make me happier. So you may have like a tan and a brown, which are not my favorite, but when you pair it with pinks and reds and oranges, you get this whole different feel than if you pair it with blues, greens, and turquoise. So, you kind of have to, if you've got that fabric and you really want to use it, there's ways to work around it by just finding the strength in the piece.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic advice, because I always see the browns and the tans and I'm like, this doesn't sing to me. In and of itself, it does not inspire joy. I'm like, that's usually the last thing I use, because I feel, and it's probably just generational, like it's an old thing. Mm-hmm. It's just very aged. But you're absolutely right. Once one of my favorite quilts was a neon green and pink and brown quilt. Mm-hmm. And like that, it had the brown fabric come by itself. I never would have used it. And I've also heard there's no such thing as ugly fabric. You just haven't cut it small enough yet.
That's a good
I
point.
like that.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. And the other thing is like, how many prints are in the quilt? If there's only like 5 prints, then you need to kind of love all 5 prints. If there's 25 prints, that's where you sneak in those fabrics that you want to use, but maybe don't quite love. Because the more prints you throw into a piece, the less they have to marry to each other and get along. Absolutely. So that's another trick to using fabrics you may not like to use.
Yeah.
Just use more of them. Is that what you're saying?
More. Just throw more in the pot. It'll all work out.
But that's more kind of our problem when we're given things that we did not choose. We're basically given that line that we have never seen before and say, hey, make something special.
and usually in a couple days.
And usually in a few days, where to me, the average quilter, they're going out and finding things that inspire them right out of the gate. They're not buying necessarily that mystery bag that they're going to, they may buy, but then they're not having to use it. They can literally just put it aside, where we have to use it.
They always have those friends that like those fabrics that they're gifting them to. Yes.
And that works great too. You can make someone else happy because they love brown and orange, and you can maybe get something in return, or at least you're getting it out of your stash, so it's not bothering you anymore.
So. So I guess that's another way. Just trade it.
Trade it.
Trade it off.
There's always a trade out there.
All right, so tell me, guys, so Whimsical Workshop, what is it? What is Whimsical Workshop today, and where do you want it to be in like 5 years for both of you?
We are trying to expand. We are expanding. I'm dipping my toe into, we just designed 6 punch needle kits, and we're doing embroidery, and we have crochet kits on board. I think that the quilt shops nowadays need to be more diversified. And even though we're just an online quilt shop and not a brick and mortar, I think it's really important to do that. I also am like a raccoon, and crafts are like sparkly things. So, 1 minute I'm in needlepoint, 1 minute I'm over here crocheting. And so because I also do a ton of things, I want our shop to reflect that. And then we also have a YouTube channel, the Whimsical Workshop. And that's another place for us to just share with people, like, okay, I want to try this craft or that craft, because you can't quilt. Well, you could quilt 24/7, but some people are like me, and they're like, okay, I just need a break, or I travel a ton for work, so I always have a hand project. Mm-hmm. So it is expanding into that. I'm designing for Island Batik, so we have the fabric line. We kind of hand off. Like, he did it I did it for years, and then he did it, and now I'm back doing it.
Oh, wow.
So I see more fabric lines. I know a couple people have asked us to do a his and her line. So we're hoping to see that, and the patterns will continue to come out in workshops and lectures. I mean,
there's always things
which is why we named it that way.
Inspire us.
Yeah.
And again, it's, as Heidi mentioned, it's nice sometimes. Sometimes it's better. You're better off for it if you do step away from that quilt project or that embroidery project and do something parallel, or even just completely off, a 180. It clears your mind, and in the end, both projects will probably be better for it. So
true story. Okay, so how do you guys work together every day? I don't know if my husband and I could do
one room, and he has
another
separate room. So we worked together for 12 years in the same room. And then we got the dog that you see walking by, Doodles, and it was too small for all three of us. So I ended up moving. This is where we do our videos and stuff. So I moved my desk into here. The biggest thing is we divide the tasks.
Yeah.
You know, like he's in charge of this, I'm in charge of that. And for us, that's always worked, whether it's housework or work. That we both know what we're responsible for, and we're not like sticking our fingers in the other's pot, but yet we support each other. And we're always asking, like, what do you think of this? But we've always been really good about work is work. And even if we argue all day at work, in the evening, we're not at work, it's a different relationship. And I think that's really what's helped us a lot. We don't bring the work into the kitchen or dinner time or stuff like that. So.
All right. And home for you guys is Arizona. We were talking about that before the show. Yes. You guys love it. And you're in Chandler, I read. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a little hot for me, but I
was
grew
gonna
up in New York.
Yeah, I've been here since '81. We moved when I was just about to start the 6th grade. So I've been here the longest, and before that it was half a dozen places around the world. My father was in the Air Force, so we moved around. But
And I moved here for him, and it's hot.
It is hot. It is hot in Chandler.
But that's the downside. You
Yeah.
know, we don't have hurricanes, we don't have tornadoes, we don't have
Snowstorms.
earthquakes, snowstorms. So it's a long list. And the heat, you know, it's when we'll be in shorts and t-shirt and everybody else is in parkas.
Right.
That, you know,
That you appreciate it.
we appreciate why we're here. So we do enjoy it, but it is.
All right. So if you guys have questions for Heidi and Matthew, go ahead and put them in the chat, because we're going to turn and start talking about this amazing pillow that they designed for us. So here is the pillow that they designed for Cotton Cuts. Woohoo! Heidi, Matt, tell us about the design that was the inspiration for us. Tell us about the fabric collection. Give us the background before everything got to here.
Well, the fabric line, Peppermint Sprinkles, it.
Well, here, let me start with the fabric.
Yeah, start with the fabric, and then I'll take it. Since I'm the one that
So everyone has their roles.
Heidi's
going to talk about the fabric. Matthew's going to talk about the design. I love it. All right.
He got it dropped on his desk, but working with Island Batiks, there's two different types of lines. There's your original line where you've designed everything from start to finish, and then they have what they call signature lines, which is they've designed it and they say for Heidi Pridemore. So this is a signature line. I didn't design this one, but like you, I had like 25 groups that you could pick from to say, this is what I want. And I fell in love with the colors. I fell in love with the fact that it was wintry, yet not very Christmassy, and that it just had its own personality. So bringing it in, then we have to design multiple projects with the line to make sure that it shows different personalities. And that's where it got dropped onto him. And he came up with the quilt, the lighting the tree quilt, which I remember walking in seeing, because I always walk by his office and see what's on the monitor, and I'm like, ooh, that's a keeper. I think we need that one. And so I'll turn it over to him for the design, because I don't.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree. The Peppermint Sprinkles fabric line was very nice because it wasn't, you know, greens and reds, but it has reindeer and it has snowflakes. And so when I saw that, I thought, well, we could still do holiday related, and thinking of the tree, and it's like it now kind of becomes, you know, the tree that's been, you know, it's in your yard that's still decorated, but now kind of has the snow and ice on it, and it's not like I said, it's not the heavy in the greens, and it's kind of in your face. It's much more wintry, and that I think led to it being more user-friendly and more in other things. But it obviously worked very well in the tree at either scale, you know, large or small.
We enjoyed the challenge.
Yes.
Going small, because I remember getting the email that's saying, oh, you know, could you take this and turn it into a pillow? To which I graciously printed it off and walked down to him and say, can you do this?
Like, yeah, I can do that.
So it was so fun to make the pillow, because the quilt, it goes together well, but it is bed quilt. It is huge.
Yeah.
So to go from that to the little guy that took me like an afternoon, I'm like, oh, this is easy. I like this. So,
Because the pattern you guys have on your website at Whimsical Workshop for the full size quilt. And when I saw that, I was like, Paula, let's go. I mean, just ask the question, right? What's the worst you guys could do is say no, and then we just move on, right?
Right.
But
well, now
because
you know
of
we
that,
don't say no.
Yeah, we try not to say no. So
right? And in this case, right, you reduce the number of fabrics, you reduce the scale and the size, and it is just a stinking cute pillow. It feels like something I could make, like you said, Heidi, in an afternoon.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden we've got this fun holiday pillow that's not like timeless Christmas and traditional Christmas, but it still has the essence of all the fabrics. And the background, it's hard to see on the screen. It has this like the teal on the white, and it's all batik.
Oh, yeah.
Which I love because they're way more durable in this type of fashion. They won't ravel and fray as much as other fabrics.
Oh, definitely. They're very, very nice to work with. And that's nice if you haven't worked with blocks on point and that makes you a little nervous. The pillow is very, very forgiving because those setting triangles, you put them on and then you can trim it. And the beauty of a pillow is, I think it's a 20-inch pillow, if I remember correctly.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. So even if you end up for whatever reason at 19 inches or 19 and a half inches, it's okay because when you put the pillow form in, it'll look fuller. So pillows are much more forgiving, and it's a great project to start if you're just nervous about putting blocks on point because it's very, very nice and easy to do.
I feel like, Heidi, that's an undersold point about pillows is you don't have to have that super tight precision because the pillow form inside of it is going to compensate for any inconsistencies in sewing, anything that stretches. Like it doesn't have to be exactly 20 inches square. Once you put that pillow form in there, it doesn't matter. The pillow form doesn't care. It's going to fill the space it's given.
And actually, I learned this working for Timeless Treasures 20 some odd years ago. They always ask that I shorten them, make them 19 and a half. They're like, I know it's a 20-inch pattern and that's what you need, but they would be purposely cut it down so that it would look plumper in their booth. So that's a little pro tip for plumping up your pillows.
I think I've heard the same. I have a pillow book. It was one of the first quilting books I bought, and it definitely says to get a pillow form that's bigger than your pillow because you want it to fill it out.
Right,
Yes.
exactly.
So we have a question from Jana. Is there a fabric collection or pattern that you consider to be timeless?
The current ones, like out of the current ones I've been working with, I would, for me personally, would lean towards Kimberbell Basics, or Camelot has a collection called Mixology. There's all kinds of basic lines out there, but because they mix in small prints in different colors, and you can take that whole line and get like 20 different looks, and it is timeless in the sense that you can mix it with most anything out there because there's a big, huge color range. So I would say that in types of fabric, batiks. I mean, I've gone through my stash and donated it multiple times because, as you can imagine, I know everyone's going gas, but I get a lot of the fabric for free, and it can become very, very overwhelming. So over the years, I'll donate the bulk of it to charity and start from scratch. But I always keep my batiks. I don't get rid of my batiks. So.
Oh, you keep the batiks. I was expecting you to say like, I donate the batiks and they're used. No, that's the one that you treasure. That's the one you keep.
Yeah, those are what I keep because the thing is, colors are refreshed constantly. I'm sure you've experienced, you have a purple from 10 years ago and you go in to try to match it now. And because color is so infinite, you're never going to find that same purple. And I also kind of, the style and the look changes over the years. So like commercial print fabrics, I don't feel are timeless. For batiks, you can pull out a batik from 20 years ago versus one right now, and they'll still kind of marry together. So.
Fantastic. All right. I'm going to take my list. I actually think we covered everything, gang. Like Paula always gives me this list of like 27 questions that she expects me to cover. And I'm like, let's see how the conversation goes. And before you know it, we're talking about AI. We're talking about cutting fabric up. It is fantastic. All right. So how can folks find the two of you and your awesome creative collaboration? If they watch this later, how can they find you afterwards?
The whimsicalworkshop.com is our website. It has all of our links to our YouTube channel and all of the places that we are. Or if you need to reach us directly, you can get us at info@thewhimsicalworkshop.com, and I'll answer all your questions about lectures, workshops, products, if you can't find something, you can always reach out to us because we answer all our emails. We're good about that. So.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great. I love it. So this is the pillow that's on the Cotton Cuts website right now. It'll be a pre-cut kit. They have the full-size quilt on their website, guys. It is amazing. Both are equally inspiring. So we are going to give away one of these kits. And so wherever you guys are seeing this video, be it on YouTube or on Facebook, simply put a comment in with a fabric that you once considered uninspiring. How did you make it inspiring? So go ahead and put that comment in, and Paula will work her magic and she'll pick someone out. So do that within 24 hours. So fabric you once considered uninspiring, but then found beauty in it for a project. All right, guys. Thank you both so much for joining me this morning.
We're a little confused ourselves.
It's
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Like it was just running right through Thanksgiving to the end of the year. Hold on. Paula is jumping behind the camera. What did I miss? Oh, yes. I got to give the Cotton Cuts plug. Don't forget, tomorrow, guys, is our regular Cotton Cuts live show. It's all of my favorite things. We're giving away tons of my favorite things. Definitely join us then. Heidi and Matthew, thank you guys so much. I hope you guys have a fantastic, we'll call it a winter in Arizona, which makes me jealous. I remember those quite fondly. All right. Thank you all so much. That is it for us, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
And cut. Thank you so much for watching our video. We have so much fun making these, and we hope that you were both delighted and inspired by what you just watched. This video was sponsored by Cotton Cuts. Cotton Cuts is your one stop for all the best fabric and thread memberships. Love fabric? We've got you covered. Love thread? We've got you covered. We get that no two quilters are cut from the same cloth, which is why our memberships are as unique as you. We also have the largest block of the month in the world. Over 4,000 detectives solve our puzzle mystery quilts every year, and you can join them. Simply go to cottoncuts.com to learn more about all the awesome and fun things that we're doing. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe to make sure you get all of our new, fresh content every time it comes out. Thank you so much. Happy sewing enthusiasts, and we will see you soon. Bye now.